Welcome back, everybody, to another season of the Main Event Oregon's 5A Basketball Podcast. If you're new here, I'm Brian Rathbone, co-host of the show, along with Jackson Noggle and Elias Esquivel. We have some exciting plans this winter and hope you will come along for the ride as we break down the people's classification and the classification where it just means more. You can find us on Twitter at 5A Main Event and on Instagram at _main_event 5A. We're also on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, so please subscribe if you can. Also this year, you can watch us live on YouTube. Well, maybe not live, but you can watch the videos of this podcast on YouTube. We are continuing our conference preview series, and on today's episode, we are breaking down the Midwestern League, and helping us break it all down is our friend, Sky Stickey. So let's dive right in. For the third time on this podcast, we have Sky Stickey. One of the rare three-timers. I think it's you and Jed, Ty, who are the only people who have made it onto this pod on three separate occasions. Sky, thank you so much for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. It's good company. Appreciate you guys wanting to, pick my brain and see what I have to say, but also love being in any category with Jed, Ty, too. So it's good to be on here.
Yeah, I think he holds the record for, I think he's been at least four. Well, going back like way before. So he might be at like 5'6".
Yeah, rightfully so.
Yeah. And of course, we got Jackson Noggle, who, man, mustache still looking great. Sky's got a great looking mustache. If you're watching on YouTube, you're gonna see it. They're matching. How you doing, Jackson?
I'm doing great. Sky said it before the show, the Eugene boys coming out here with the scruff. I love it. Yeah, super pumped for another fun season. We're getting into, the teams in the area that I know best. So, I'm psyched to talk some Midwestern League this tonight, I should say.
And the person
Elias,
who knows the Midwestern League the best, Elias, how we doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. I was feeling better before Sky hopped on with his mustache. Like, Jackson already makes me feel pretty bad about my lack of facial hair. And now I have to stare at the both of you for like the next hour or two. So doing great, though. Excited to talk about my favorite league.
But we're here to talk about the Midwestern League. Sky, you coached in this league the past couple of years. You're adjusting to this time of year when you're probably have your team all filled out. You're getting ready for practice. Your first game's in like 10 days. How's that adjustment been before we dive into that?
Yeah, man, it's weird. It's kind of interesting being the free agent that gets to just enjoy hoops and talking to some of my, coaches that I coached with about going and watching some games and filling out our schedules to see how many different teams we can see in the, Eugene area. But yeah, I think this is the first time in over a decade that I'm not coaching a team this time of year. And so it is a little weird. I'm having a little bit of the FOMO of being back in the gym, but also enjoying it from this side to get to just speculate and sit back and watch things too. So I'm excited to participate in the way that I get to this season.
So this is our second of four not Midwestern League of conference previews, and we are diving into the Midwestern League, which is Ashland, Churchill, Crater, Eagle Point, North Eugene, Springfield, and Thurston. We did the Intermountain Conference a week ago, so if you haven't listen to that episode, you can go check it out. But we brought on Sky because he was in this league and knows all about it. And we're hoping you can bring in a little more insight than what we typically have. And just like the previous episode, we're going to go over, teams if we think they're going to improve, stay the same, or, maybe are in for a little bit of regression from last year. We're going to go over our players of the year picks, some dark horses to look out for. And we're going to do the same with the champions. We're going to answer a couple mailbag questions that were sent over to us. And then we'll end with one big question we have for each league. So another jam-packed episode. And we're going to go how we, started the previous episode with Elias, giving us some information on a team. So Elias, who's our first team? Where are we starting?
We're going to start with Springfield. They went 0-23 last year. It was a pretty rough year. Obviously 0-12 in the Midwestern League. They are returning no all-league returners. They lost one, Vinny Trinkla, I believe is how you say his name. He was on the second team last year. In league competition, that's definitely wrong. We'll skip that part.
I just noticed that as well.
Across the entire regular season, they scored 47.95 points per game. They allowed 71, so struggled mightily defensively. They played in the Holiday Inn invite at Wilsonville along with the Centennial Tip-Off. This season, they're playing in the State and Holiday Tournament, along with some other notable matchups. Hitting the road to go against Dallas, playing Dallas again at home, playing Ben, playing McMinnville, and playing Willamette on the road as well. I think this one's gonna be pretty easy. I mean, I'm taking the over. I'm assuming they'll win one game this year.
I'm with you,
I
Elias. It's been a rough go. But yeah, I don't see them going completely winless again. Trinka was a baller for them, a guy that could go out and get a bucket. So they're going to be searching for that guy this year. But Springfield's an area that has had some great basketball talent in the past. So I think few wins is more than possible, especially when you got a home and home against Dallas on the schedule. You got Malala on the schedule. You got that Staten tournament, which is probably going to have some teams that are, win some games that are winnable. Excuse me. So yeah, no brainer for me here. I think the Millers will be able to scrape together a couple wins and go over here.
Yeah, once you're at the bottom, only way you can go is up, right? So it's like I think the over is the good call on this one. I don't know Jeremy Young, the new coach that got hired, but you inherit a program where you kind of get to shape it and go, what are we going to be? What's our identity? And so I think for all of us is probably we need to see it to believe it, kind of a factor with Springfield. But no disrespect, to where we're ranking them or what we're thinking. But I kind of had them at the bottom of the league with a lot of opportunities to surprise us and what they're able to do and kind of shape a new culture of Miller basketball.
Yeah, I have the over as well. Yeah, they're two games against Dallas, and Dallas only won one game, a year ago. So I think in that sense, they're ripe for at least improving by one game. I do have a question though for the Eugene boys. Springfield girls basketball, such a storied program. Just where's the disconnect between the two or ones just like tournaments every year, state champions, always have one of the top players, and one where it's like
Yeah.
at the bottom of the Midwestern.
Not to sound like a broken record, but I know when you've had me on before, just talking about coaching and some of the challenges and some of the blessings of being a coach. I think tenure of being there for a long time helps. And the girls program, they've had coaches that have stayed, that have kind of invested. And because the girls program became so much of a hub at a state level, a lot of coaches, even on the assistant side, stuck around. And so you just had continuity of a lot of coaches remaining for a lot of years, and that drawing a lot of interest, for players to come play at that school. So I think it'll just take a little bit of time. Springfield has great, resources and facilities. And I know administration and an athletic director that wants that program to be successful. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Just you kind of need to see it through and have time to grow your players and have your system picked up on. Jackson, what do you see from the south side of what you're looking at Springfield?
I mean, I think you hit it on the head. That's a tough question to answer. It's like, why is this program struggling? I mean, it's hard to pinpoint exactly why. But yeah, I think I'm with you on that. Continuity is a huge thing, especially in high school basketball. All the winningest programs in the state to have a long-standing coach, or at least a system that's been in place for quite some time. Maybe not a system, but a reputation. And that's something that Springfield's been missing for the better part of a decade at least. So yeah, new coach in the building, hopefully some new culture, some new energy. They'll get that going. And, like you said, as the wins start to roll around and it builds up, it's kind of a domino effect. So yeah, that's what we're hoping to see. But yeah, certainly following the example of the girls program, because that's been a powerhouse over there for quite some time.
All right. So we all take
Eagle
the over
Point time.
Eagle Point.
Elias.
What do we need to know about Elias? What do we need to know about? What do we need to know about Eagle Point? Can't talk sometimes.
Eagle Point, they went 8-17 last year, 3-9 in league. No all-league returners. They lost to senior Connor New and senior Easton Raber. In league, they scored 57 points per game, allowed 68.6. Against non-league competition, they went 5-8. for preseason tournaments, they play down in California in the McKinleyville tournament, and also the Red Bluff Holiday Tournament, which seems to be like a pretty popular destination for some of the most southern schools. This season, they're playing in no preseason tournaments. Do have some notable matchups with Willamette on the road and McKay on the road. They do only have 18 games listed though, so who knows what they might add to their schedule. This one was easy for me as well. Under. I'm probably going under on their 8 wins. Maybe just at 8 as well. I'm not really sure, but I wouldn't like bet money that they would go over that.
And also, it's not good to bet money on
Yeah, I'm
high
with you,
school
Elias.
sports, Elias.
I don't know much about this team, but yeah, just looking at their schedule, it's likely that they'll pick up some easy wins in non-con. Those tournaments they play in Northern California typically have some games that they can pull out a victory or two in. But I look at the top half of this league; it's pretty freaking strong this year, in my opinion. So it's going to be hard for them to pull off some victories against the Thurstons, the North Eugenes. Um, so yeah, I gotta push to slight under on Eagle Point. I expect them maybe pulling out a couple league victories. Obviously, those battles against Springfield will be tight. But yeah, I got slight under. What you feeling, Sky or Brian?
I know this is, it goes against over under. I kind of see it equal. I don't know that there's going to be a huge change. I could see them getting, one more win or one more loss. Obviously, I think really highly of Ryan Mars, their coach, and, building up, a couple of 5 or 6 years ago, they're competing at the state level, and he's done a lot with that program and building it up. So I think very highly of him. He's usually able to turn something out of the guys that he's got. Just a lot of question marks. Don't know what they have coming up the pipeline. Don't know who their key guys are going to be. And like Jackson said, a pretty top heavy league where it's going to be hard to get wins.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna probably go under as well. Just whenever you just like don't have an all league player returning, it just becomes really difficult to, at least from our perspective, just see like, all right, where's the path forward? Like who can you kind of like lean on to be like, all right, this is going to be our guy who's gonna maybe take that next step. And there very well could be some talented players on this team, and we just don't know about them yet. So whenever you just don't have an all league player returning, it's just always kind of tough to see a huge jump forward, but we'll just have to see.
On to Ashland.
On to Ashland.
Yep.
So Ashland went 500 last year overall, 12-12, 5-7 in the league. They are returning some all league members. Senior Quillian Torzen, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He was an honorable mention selection last year, along with Freeman Rountree. They did lose a first teamer though, Jojo Harrower, who we talked about in this podcast. This kid was a bucket. That's gonna be a big loss for them. In league, they scored 55.5 points. They allowed just over 56. So based off of that, their league competition was close. Like they were competitive, obviously. They went 7-5 against non-league opponents across the entire season. They scored just above 62 points per game while allowing just over 60. They played in the Holiday Inn Invite in Wilsonville along with the Cascade Christmas Classic. This season, they're returning to both of those tournaments, along with having a matchup at South Medford or against South Medford at home, which I thought was interesting. For me, we kind of mentioned it already, Jackson and Sky, about like this league being top heavy. Because of that, I think I'm gonna go under on Ashland reaching 12 wins, just because like if you look at last year's like league records, a lot of teams, a few teams, like 3 of them, were hovering around 500, either a game or 2 above. And I think that gap's just gonna be widened this year. So I think I gotta pick Ashland and go under.
I'm with you. Some other teams at the top of this league that I think are going to be taking steps up. And as a consequence of that, some teams, excuse me, are going to need to move down. And I think Ashland is going to have to be one of those teams, even though I don't think they are going to be much worse than they were last year. I just think some of the teams around them are going to be getting a little bit better. Harrower, like you said, Elias, was by far their biggest source of offense a season ago. He did a lot of the ball handling. the shot creation and the passing for them. He was just kind of an offensive engine, great athlete all around as well. So yeah, this team has a lot of unknowns, kind of similar to Eagle Point. Going to have a lot of guys stepping up, but they've been a really solid program lately. Actually, the Grizzlies have been very competitive at the 5A level. Had a trip to this, maybe back-to-back trips to the state tournament, I believe, a couple years ago. Um, so yeah, they're starting to have some of that continuity we were talking about with Springfield, and I think that could help them out this year. Maybe pull off some wins that some people aren't expecting. I know their coach. This is second or third year, right, Sky? Coach Ani Saram, I believe it is. No, he's pretty close to a couple of my buddies down that played college ball in the Southern Oregon area. So I got big belief in him. And yeah, I could see Ashland going over, but I got to lean slight under preseason just based on the top of this league being really powerful.
Yeah, Ani's doing a great job down there. And I think the big thing with Ashland is they're just so young. Some of their players, I mean, there's David Carter and Cole Yamoto that are sophomores. I think that sophomore class that Ashland has been playing together for a really long time. And I know what Ani's been doing and building up that group is kind of putting some, leadership into the younger guys. And so I think they're a few years out from showing some of that work. I think they're doing it the right way and putting it in. I see them kind of being the same type of team. I think they're going to sneak out some wins. It'll be interesting. They kind of hold the line between that top heavy, and then bottom three. It'll be interesting to see how those bottom three compete against each other. Who's going to win in the Eagle Point, Ashland matchup? Who's going to win in the Springfield Ashland matchup? So I could see them sneaking out some wins. I have them at 12 wins on the season and 5 wins in league. Pretty similar to where they were last year, not moving much.
Yeah, you mentioned the super young team, mostly sophomores. They have 3 seniors, 2 juniors, and the rest are sophomores. So that's young.
Wow.
And then you mentioned, their sophomores having played together for a long time. One of the notes that, their coach sent us over is like the sophomore team, have played together since second grade. So they have been playing together for a really long time.
I think that's going to show in the coming years. Like when this is happening next year and their senior year, I think we're going to see a much different Ashland team. And that's where they're going to surprise some people. There's going to be wins that we don't expect Ashland to come through, but you're also entrusting underclassmen with the heart of your team this year. And so there's going to just be some rocky roads ahead for them in figuring out that identity and kind of getting used to those minutes.
Yeah, I could totally see something like where they maybe they steal one from like a Thurston or like a Crater or North Eugene, but then drop one to like Ashland or not drop one to Ashland, but drop one to Springfield or Eagle Point, where it's like you might see the high, like the potential that's here with this really kind of young group, but you also see it's like, oh man, this is a really young group sometimes where they haven't figured out how to win, and kind of just like the habits that you just kind of pick up as you get older and are just playing more basketball at a high level.
Thanks for bringing that up, Brian, because I had also brought up the notes because I thought we should mention it. I just want to say, yeah, it's probably a big development year for them. And like they've already kind of done the hard part by sticking together, which obviously isn't something that always happens nowadays in high school basketball. I did just also want to say that we didn't get a whole lot of responses from Midwestern coaches, but of the ones we did get, they were ranked pretty consistently at 5th in the conference. So the coaches seem to be in agreement with us, I at least think.
And it's kind of reminiscent of a Churchill team that I know of well from a couple years ago, where we started 3 sophomores and a freshman. And that was a really rocky year where, the first game of the year we were at Wilsonville, and we took Wilsonville that went deep in the state tournament, took them to the 4th quarter where we were within 4 points, ended up beating North Eugene the last game of the year on their court to kind of send off a season. And that just kind of gave us momentum for a lot of those sophomores. But it was a rough year. And that was the first year in a long time that Churchill had missed playoffs because we were, building up some of those underclassmen to carry the torch. So I see that being Ashland this year for sure.
Great note.
On to Crater. Crater, very similar to Ashland. They went 500 on the season and 500 in league. meaning obviously they went 6-6 against non-league foes. They are returning a few all-league members. First team, Julian Grant, returning senior, along with sophomore Tremaine Smith, who was an honorable mention selection, and junior Malachi Barlow, who was also an honorable mention selection. Pretty notable that they're losing Kyle Biddle. Um, I know Jackson spoke very highly of him last year, even though I think he was hurt for most of the season, wasn't he?
Yeah, he didn't play. Didn't
Yeah.
play.
Yeah. Um, let's see. In league, it's funny because when I added up these numbers, I couldn't believe it. They scored and allowed the same exact amount of points in league, which came out to 60.42 points per game. Across the season, they scored exactly 60 points per game and they allowed 57.75. They had played in that Red Buffed holiday tournament I mentioned earlier, along with the Oregon Holiday Hoop Fest. This season, they're going back to the Red Bluff tournament. Uh, and they're also playing quite a bit of 6A teams. They got Sheldon on the road, Roseburg on the road, Grants Pass at home, Willamette on the road, North Medford on the road, and South Medford on the road.
Just
I
I'll
took the
hop in here
over.
because I'm.
Yeah,
Oh,
go
we all
ahead.
hop in at the same time. I gotta hop
just
in
the
because I'm high on this team. I think they're really good. Um, you see all those 6A opponents on the schedule. That's a sign that this coach is confident in this group, and he's trying to get them tuned up early against some, high octane competition. Like you said, Elias, Biddle's a big loss, but he didn't play much last year. These guys, Barlow, Julian Grant, Tremaine Smith, I think they're all ready to take a big step up. These guys are hoopers. You can just tell by the way they carry themselves on the court and handle the ball. Um, they have the challenging non-conference, which is going to make it pretty close. I think on the over under, but I still got to go over because I think this is a really talented group that, in on the right season could compete for the league title in this conference. And I could definitely see them pulling off some upsets at home against the Thurstons and the North Eugenes of this league because Crater's always a tough place to play. You got to drive down to the Medford area, and it's a bit of a snake pit down there. So yeah, they've always had that that notoriety of knocking teams off down on their home floor. I'm pretty sure a couple years ago they almost pulled off a pretty big playoff upset. I'm not remembering who they were playing against, but yeah, these guys are good at home and they're talented. So I'm going over.
I think it was Caldera.
it was Caldera.
Yep.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Had
It
him
was
on
a
the
tight
ropes. I
one.
think at halftime it seemed like, oh, this could definitely go Crater's way. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the biggest change from last year to this year. We knew Biddle's name going into last year, and then he ended up not playing. And I think because of that, you saw some stars emerge that we weren't really expecting. I think Julian Grant had multiple weeks or games in a row where he had over 30 points. In fact, I think he might have been nationally acknowledged on Prep Hoops for that. And I think, he's just a stud and can come out and score a lot. Not to foreshadow too much, but they would be my dark horse in this league of just like, what can they do? They're scary. They got young talent that got experience last year. They got guys that can really put up big time points. And I think Crater's that team that I'm not picking for just kind of bowing out in the playoffs like I have the last couple of years. I think they're tested. They've had that happen a few times. And this is a scary Crater team where they could end up making a run in the playoffs and shocking some teams. I think there's going to be a lot of splits with that top section of who we think is going to finish at the top. They're going to split games with them a lot this year. And so I'm definitely over. I got them at single digit losses this year overall for their record. And, I put them at 7-5 for leagues. So I think Crater is going to be good.
Yeah, it's never like good when you lose like a star player like in the moment and kind of through that year, you do kind of wonder like, man, what would this creative team been with, Biddle, injected into it. Because man, they were a scary team against that Caldera that night. I just remember just like, oh man, am I about to watch just like one of the biggest upsets, in 5A basketball?
We wanted it, man. We wanted it.
Like Caldera's having just like such a great year, and their very new program with like just getting the state tournament would have been just like this huge accomplishment. And then here comes the Crater, and they're just knocking down everything, and then they just run out of steam, and Caldera is winning at that point by like 15 plus points, but definitely like flipped. But at the time, I was like, man, what if they had Biddle? Like, how does this look differently? But now that we've turned the page and it's a different season, you're like, man, it's probably really kind of beneficial for all these guys that they had to find ways to get into the playoffs and, compete in a tough league with, some tough opponents and go and, play, the number one seed and, find a way to almost pull off this, crazy upset. And now that we're coming into this year, I can see why, Sky and Jax are so, high on this team. So I'm going to agree with them. I think this is a team that could take that next step. And I don't know about single digit losses, but I want to argue against it.
I think Brian Scott, the coach, has seen and had that vision. I mean, he even with Biddle last year, he gave him a leadership position. I think that showed something to the guys. It awarded him an honorary first team all league position, even though he didn't play in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Coach Scott has been personally invested in who are our leaders, how are we going to lay the groundwork for this program to be successful. And I think this is a year that you're really going to see that.
Just some final thoughts on Crater, because I'm not sure if maybe I wasn't heard when we all spoke at the same time. I do have wait, let me not misspeak. I do have the over for them. And also just worth noting that in some of the responses we got, I think they were third. When we asked, coaches to rank the teams, they were third and fourth. So coaches are pretty high on them as well. Let's see. On to Churchill. Churchill went 13-11 last year, 7-5 in league. Assuming that everybody comes back who can come back, senior Jay Slitton should be there. He was the first team guy last year. Senior TJ Wright, he was an honorable mention selection. Of course, we all know that they have a new head coach, Tyler Coleman. In league last year, they were obviously very competitive. They scored just under 60 points per game, allowed just over 52, 6-6 against non-league. Across the entire season, they scored just under 58 points per game while allowing just under 55. They played in the Capital City Classic in Salem. Of course, I think we were all pretty, I don't know, shocked maybe isn't the right word, but it was a pleasant surprise when they beat Woodburn last year in the Capital City Classic. They lost it to Tualatin, Sherwood, and Wilsonville. So obviously they were very competitive. This season, they're playing in the Summit Holiday Tournament. And then they also have some interesting 6A teams, along with a 5A team. They play Gresham on the road, South Eugene at home, Willamette at home, Summit on the road, Rosenberg at home, and Beaverton at home.
I think it's just Roseburg.
Oh, yeah. What did I say? Rosenberg? Roseburg. There we go. I changed it.
Churchill, Sky, thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I love this team. Got a lot of thoughts. I think this is a different team than what it's been the last couple of years. It'll be interesting. Elias kind of alluded to it, not knowing exactly, the rosters haven't posted on OSAA yet. So we don't know exactly some of those multi-sport athletes who maybe are signing letters of intent to play collegiate sports, who's going to come out, who's not. I think generally though, Churchill, just to be safe, I kind of put them at a similar spot to what they had last year. I got them 7-5 in league, maybe 11-12 overall based on what their schedule looks like. I think the biggest thing is going to be they're good defensively, and that remains consistent. But you have maybe 3, probably 2 guys with starting experience at the varsity level. And you have no players on the roster that have averaged double-digit points at the varsity level. And so it's just a huge question mark of how are they going to get their points? How are they going to get the buckets? And I think they have a lot of firepower. They got a lot of athletes. Just because of my history and loving these guys, there's 10 guys that I could name that I think will be good. But, I think TJ Wright is a no-brainer for leading that team. I'm excited to see what Madison Bradshaw is going to do. Alonzo Reyes, Ryan Gutierrez was a huge part of what we did this summer. And so I think he could be a bucket getter. And then we have guys like Lucas Babbitt, football player, that going to come over and play. And I think he'll just be an enforcer and a physical presence that we haven't seen at Churchill yet. So, we'll see. It's going to be an interesting season. I love Tyler. I think that was a great hire for a coach. He was our JV coach last year. Super proud of him taking on the helm, and excited to compete and see what these guys are able to do. Rooting for them. Certainly want them to finish better than what I'm ranking them here in this, but I got them kind of finishing probably in that fourth spot behind Crater, maybe dropping some games and falling down to fourth. But I think they'll kind of remain equal based on what their schedule is like to last year.
Yeah, I do like that
In
they have,
agreement.
I do like that they have continued with the hiring good coaches or like people because the only things I've heard about Tyler Coleman is a great guy.
Well, and he was a long time Eugene coach. I mean, we
Hmm.
were blessed that he wanted to come over and be part of the Churchill program. He and I coached against each other at the lower levels. I was at Sheldon. He was at South Eugene. I was at Thurston. He was at South Eugene. When I got the Churchill job, for him to come over, he could be a head coach anywhere in the state, and he wanted to be a part of our program. That was a huge blessing for me. And now to see him, stepping into a position, he's deserving and more than qualified. And so great hire for Churchill.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the days of him coaching the freshman team at South while I was going to school there. I'm pretty sure he was the freshman coach when I was a junior and senior in high school. Pretty sure he was reffing games in the youth leagues when I was playing in like fourth and fifth grade. So a great guy that's really, committed himself to the basketball scene in the Eugene area, and I'm also very confident in him as well. He's just great character, great guy, great leader. Um, but yeah, like you said, Sky, it's going to come with its own challenges. Obviously, new coach, going to take its time to get things implemented. And obviously the question marks with the roster. We don't know exactly who's going to be back, but Churchill is a program and a school that always has great athletes. You mentioned Lucas Babbitt coming over from the football team. That's a great get. He was an absolute beast on the gridiron this fall. He's going to be the type of guy that you can throw in there and he can just cause chaos, muck things up for the other team. And then, yeah, you touched on Gutierrez, TJ Wright, another great athlete. I'm really high on Alonzo Reyes as just a facilitator, a ball handler. He's a real basketball savvy player, real cerebral. So I can see him running the offense pretty well for this team. But yeah, it's going to take a while to get things going. So if anything, I'm leaning slightly under here. But I like where you're at, Sky. I think of them around the same level as last year. Churchill's a team that's never going to be, wavering too far from, you know, the line of best fit, I guess you could say. Brian?
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing just like a bottoming out. Like I know they lost, some talent. You had the Reed brothers, transfer over to Idaho. There's still some, flux on, what, the final roster here is going to look like. Um,
So
but
with
yeah,
that, let me throw this out there because I won't say it for the official player of the year talk, but I will say while we talk about Churchill, if Charlie Dexter is playing, and this is a good Easter egg for him to throw it out there, I think not only does that change Churchill's season, but I think he's a dark horse for player of the year for this league. We saw it at the end of the season last year, even at West Albany when we were on the road in our playoff game. He's a beast, and I think he's a big difference maker in the post. And so I think, I know he's got a D1 offer in football coming off of a hard loss at Summit or against Summit, this last weekend. So all the football guys are kind of shaking off football season to get into basketball mode. I hope he plays. I think that'll be a key factor for Churchill if he plays or not.
there we go. Never stop recruiting.
Uh, Worth noting, Charlie Dexter was pegged as a first team all-leaguer in one of the surveys we got back. So
Okay.
yeah, him along with TJ Wright were both made some of the list.
PJ Wright, another guy that's great at football. Did he play this last year, Sky? I know he played 2 years ago.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a stud on the gridiron as well.
I think he had a pick in the
The
Yeah.
Summit game?
Summit game.
Both those guys are Division I
Nice.
athletes for sure. So
All right. So you know what? I'm going to go over. I just like the vibes as I'm
I
talking
like
to
it.
to the former coach. I just like the vibes.
Something
to
about
shout
these
back
vibes
to
this year.
well, to shout back to a previous episode, Brian did give Churchill one of the best logos in 5A basketball. So I think he maybe the
Oh yeah,
see
It
that
is.
Brian is just drawing him
It
in.
is, without a doubt.
it's a nice logo.
Elias,
North
anything to add
Eugene.
here?
Not really, just that I also have them over. On to North Eugene.
Okay.
Um, this is a team that I'm pretty interested in, and I'm interested to see what the Eugene guys got to say about it. They went 16-8 last year, 9-3 in league. They, I think, are returning the most all league members. Just taking a quick glance, Jordan Gray's coming back, first teamer all last year. Jaden Robinson, he was a second teamer last year, and then sophomore Damon Keith and senior Zach Fisher were honorable mention selections. Uh, in league, they averaged just above 64 points per game while allowing just under 58. They went 7-5 in non-league and won pretty comfortably in their matchups. They scored just under 62 points per game across the entire regular season and allowed 55. They only played in the Silverton tournament last year, and this year they're pretty much sticking to the same kind of vibe. They so far have no preseason tournament scheduled. But some of the notable matchups they do have is, of course, Willamette and McMinnville, both on the road, along with Newburgh and South Eugene at home. I'm over on North Eugene. I'm just get that out of the way.
I'm over on these guys too, even though they won 16 games last year. I love this team. They bring back all their all leaguers, like you said, Elias. That's a huge advantage right off the bat. And I think these guys are honestly a sneaky team, sneaky dangerous team to watch statewide this year. They could definitely put together a run. They definitely have the pieces to be, one of the best basketball teams at the 5A level. Um, Jordan Gray, you mentioned him. I think he's not even a dark horse. He's one of the favorites for League Player of the Year this year. He's a stud. Just all around offensive presence. And then I really like their depth as well. You mentioned Jaden Robinson, Zach Fisher, Damon Keith, all league guys that are going to be back. I'm high on Zach Fisher. He's a skilled big that can put the ball on the ground and shoot it a little bit. Um, I also like Day Day Ireland. Kind of surprised to hear that he wasn't a all league selection last year. Great athlete, great guard. Can really grit his teeth and defend. Can spread it out and shoot and attack the rim. So yeah, North Eugene, love the pieces. These guys are all hoopers. Blake Gee has been putting together solid teams for the last 4 or 5 years now. So yeah, I expect them to be tough to beat from the beginning. And for that reason, I'm going over. I see them having a little bit of an advantage on a lot of these teams that maybe need a couple games to get going this year. I think North Eugene is going to be punching with full force to start this year.
Yeah, North Eugene is a nasty team. They're just hard to play against. They're mean, and I think this, the thing with them has been they've been a little bit shaky when playoffs come around or being able to compete at a state level. I think this is the year that they kind of turn that around. They're my favorite to win league. I got them on the over. I think they'll drop maybe 2 games in league. That's my prediction. I think they're going to do really well with it. I got them at 17-4 on what their schedule is posted right now. So I think they're going to have a really good season. And I'm hoping that they can kind of stabilize and bring it together to make a good run because they deserve it, and the guys that are competing and have played there for a while. And you mentioned it, Blake does a great job, X's and O's wise, and the way he breaks things down. I think that this could be a year that we're talking about North Eugene late into March.
What's interesting is like this was the team last year that was like the easiest one to point to, like, oh, they're gonna have such a drop off because they lost so much, like basically like their entire starting lineup from, oh gosh, what were they? Were they the
I think they were like the third seed or
yeah, they
fourth
were the
seed.
third seed.
Number 3, yeah.
Yeah, just and then they go 2-0 in the tournament where it's like, up, this looks like an easy drop off. And then by the end of the year, they become such like the trendy upset pick to take down Crescent Valley. And I went back and just kind of looked at their schedule last year. They lost 9 games overall, but 7 of them were to tournament teams. So they lost to Summit, Caldera, Crescent Valley, and then lost to Crescent Valley in the state tournament, Caldera, and then they lost 3 times to Thurston. Never mind, they didn't lose to Thurston 3 times in the tournament. They lost to Crescent Valley in the first round. Got ahead of myself. I was thinking about Thurston. But needless to say, this is the team that really kind of exceeded expectations last year and played some really good teams. Like they lost to Ashland and McMinnville were the only 2 teams that they didn't beat, or that beat them that didn't eventually go on to the state tournament. So yeah, I can see this team really kind of popping this year.
One of the things, Jackson, I know you like the game, and so one of the fun things that I'm interested in watching and I want to highlight about North Eugene I think Zach Fisher is as dangerous of a pick and pop post as there is in the state, regardless of classification, 6A, 5A. And so that kind of depth and that, I think, for us last year, that was a hard action to guard. But they just got some guys, they just got dogs. If you look at, the Midwestern League, North Eugene are the dogs. And like I said, if they can keep their mentality right, if they can keep focus, if the coaches can hold them accountable. And one more shout out to the coaches over there, the development of Jaden Robinson really settling into his role and becoming just a great defender. If they do a defensive player of the year, that would be my early season favorite of Jaden Robinson, because I think he's really turned it around and become a big focal point for what they do based on his defensive buy-in.
I like what you said about Fisher. He's a really good player. I think at the Prep Hoops Expo this summer, he was going to work, putting in some buckets against some of the top guys in the state, and definitely stood out to my guy Jed and Andrew out there. I wasn't there, but I know that he was the name that got brought up. So yeah, these guys got talented players from top to bottom, and like Sky said, dogs. They really want it for this program and this team. So yeah, I'm really excited to watch these guys this year. North Eugene's one of those teams that's hard to root against.
Yeah, Sky, you were in a couple looks like a couple battles with them last year.
Yeah, it's
What were those
interesting.
like?
Well, I mean, it's Blake and I have had really good battles. I mean, the first couple of years we split games, right? So I was at Churchill
Mhm.
3 years, and both my first 2 years we split games. And so the first game that we played them last year, uh, ill-advised, we went into it thinking we were going to zone them, and we had thrown in a zone that week that we wanted to do, to put in to try to like give them a different look because we knew that they were scouting us, and they lit us up. I mean, I feel like they're a great shooting team, but for whatever reason, they have their best shooting nights against Churchill, and so that killed us. And that was just kind of like, man, Fisher can hit. Jordan Gray's getting whatever he wants. Day Day's getting to the rack, like, and it actually broke us apart. So they got us twice last year, well deserved, and I think they'll refine that and polish it up this year. I just want to see them be consistent. I want to see them beat the teams that they should beat. I want to see them compete in the playoffs. They should be one of those teams that gets to Linfield. They just got to dial in and have the mentality and camaraderie in that locker room to get them there. So,
Uh,
Elias, I talk too much, man. Give us your thoughts.
oh no, you guys are fine. You guys are doing all the heavy lifting. I actually really appreciate it. I was just gonna say Jordan Gray and Zach Fisher both were pegged as all league guys from the coaches, and I think Jaden Robinson even made an appearance on one of them. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of expectations out of North Eugene. Unlike last year when we all thought they were gonna fall off, I'm not making that mistake again. Um, are we ready to go to Thurston? Oh wait, actually, let me mention this since I always forget to mention it at the beginning. Since 2014, 2015, North Eugene uh, is second behind Churchill in like league titles. So only a few teams have won it. Thurston's won it once, North Eugene won it twice, Churchill's won it 5 times, and Crater and Springfield each have a league title to their name.
Shout out.
Let's see.
Now we're ready for Thurston.
Now we're ready for Thurston. So Thurston, the postseason may have not quite been what we expected, but they had a really fantastic regular season. They went 21-3 overall. Of course, 12-0 against league opponents, reigning league champions. They are returning the Player of the Year in senior Lucas Labounty, the Coach of the Year in Blaine Libertor, I believe is how you pronounce his name. And senior Grady Saunders, who was a second team selection, he's coming back he's coming back. They did lose the Defensive Player of the Year, Noah Blair, and Nate Stifler, who was a first teamer. And these guys just like they were again just a stellar regular season. They scored 65 points per game in league, and they allowed only 43. Across the entire season, they scored just over 61 points per game and allowed 47. So they weren't just like beating teams; they were beating teams very comfortably. They played in the Abby's Holiday Classic at South Medford High School. This season, I'm really excited about this. They're coming up to Salem to play in the Capital City Classic, and they're going back to the Abby's Invite. I think it's interesting. like North Eugene, I have them over their 16 wins. Thurston, I have under, but I think they're going to repeat as league champions. But I think their regular season is probably not going to be quite as successful. Like I just don't know if they're going to be able to go 21-3 again, especially when you consider that they have to go to Salem, and who knows who they're going to what picks they're going to draw when they're there. They might have to go up against a couple national teams.
Yeah,
Totally.
it's gosh, Jackson and I just jumping in at the same time. Always go ahead, Jackson.
Yeah, I was just gonna say these guys got plenty of returning talent. Like you said, they lost Blair, they lost Stifler, but I really, really like some of the other guys this team had. Obviously, LeBounty's the returning player of the year, and I like the guys they had off the bench last year to take a step up. One of those guys being Trayson Hill, talented freshman. But with all that said, I do like you said, Elias, I expect the Midwestern to be tougher this year, all around with North Eugene and Crater taking big steps up. I think it's going to be difficult for Thurston to do the same, especially when they had such an awesome regular season last year. So yeah, I'm going slight under here. I think it's going to be Thurston and North Eugene duking it out for the league title personally. But winning more than 21 games is extremely difficult. That's a stellar regular season. Um, so yeah, I love Thurston. I love their depth. I think they got a lot of guys that can score the ball. A lot of guys that can defend. Guy that I sneakily like is Brock Johnson. He'll be running, some point guard duties for them. Grady Sanders, terrific baseball player, committed to Oregon State. He's a great athlete down low, can rebound the ball, can defend at a super high level. Um, Matt Newell, great Thurston family name out there. We've been running into the Newells for quite some time now. I know Sky knows that. And he's a great guy as well. Great rebounder, great post player. Just one of those, textbook football players on a basketball court, making all the physical plays and getting those loose balls. So, yeah, Thurston's like North Eugene is a team I'm very high on and excited to watch this year. But just because they were so stellar in the regular season last year, I got to go slight under. But yeah, super pumped to watch them.
Yeah, I'm like you guys. Were just like, man, last year was so good. Where it's like they, win as many games they did over 20. They're the number 2 seed. Undefeated league champions. Like I still think many of those things can still happen. I still, think they can be a Linfield team. They can, win a league title, but it's probably not going to be as, prolific as it was, especially when lose a player like I know, they bring back, Lucas LeBounty, the player of the year, but they also lose the previous, player of the year, Nate Stifler. So you just like, this is a team that was running with 2, players of the year on their team, and one of them's going to be gone. Will someone step up and steal the league player of the year from LeBounty this year like he did to Stifler the year before? Possibly, but I think it is hard just to reach that kind of same high of peak that you did. And what's crazy is, man, they were like really close, just like winning or only losing one game. Like that game against Mountain View could have easily won that game. They lose by 1 to Sheldon, and I think they got a kind of a tough draw at the state tournament. They ran into kind of a buzzsaw in Summit, especially that first half. Summit just like probably played its best half of basketball kind of in those first 24 minutes, and credit for them for coming back, but just Summit just built too big of a lead. But yeah, I like this Thurston team. I expect them to be up, and I'm really excited for this Thurston North Eugene battle that looks like we're heading towards in this conference.
I'm going to deviate away from a little bit of what you guys said.
Let's go. This is why we brought you on, Sky.
I think that Thurston's got phenomenal coaching. They got the best player in the league, but they have a lot of newness. And I think they're similar to Churchill in, even the names of the multi-sport athletes that you guys threw out. I don't know that those guys are going to be playing basketball. So we'll see what their roster looks like. I think that there's a lot of potential for, the 3 guys that I'm really focused in on their roster. Lucas LeBuckets, I think he's just as good of a player in the state. Trayson Hill, I think will be one to watch. And then Leo Felipe, I think those 3 will be huge difference makers for them. The scouting report, though, is shut down Labounty. And Lucas, if for some reason you're listening to this, tune out the noise this season and just dial it in. I am so impressed with him as a young man, but as a basketball player, I think he's top notch. By far, my outstanding player of the year vote goes to him. Just I think he's a true hooper. But I think most teams in the state are going to know that and lock in on him. And so you look at that and you go, you really have a few guys with varsity experience, and then you're entrusting a lot on these newcomers. Can people get buckets outside of Lucas? How are they going to score? How are they going to, they always defend really strongly. They box out, they rebound. But if you can't get the ball in the bucket, you're not going to win basketball games. And so I think that that's going to be the big identity thing for Thurston. And for that reason, I have North Eugene as the clear number one favorite. And I think, Thurston's going to be battling with Churchill and Crater for those 2, 3, 4 spots. And that's going to be where it's really muddied up and interesting. And it's going to be who can split games with North Eugene to knock them down. Can you handle business, on your home court? Can you not give that away? And I think that that's where it's going to be. That middle section is going to get really dicey and really, really interesting. I do think Thurston has an edge at just being seasoned in their coaching and their structure and the philosophy of what they teach and do. I've seen that firsthand, and I think that will win a lot of basketball games. But there's a lot of unknowns for Thurston. I think our final assessment on Churchill and Thurston are going to come down to who's on the roster on that OSAA site. And, hopefully we get that in the next week or so. But I would be amiss if I didn't think that was going to have our jaws dropping a little bit, because you're going to have first team all league players not on a roster. Like, that's just going to happen. And so I think that's where there's a little bit of question marks of going, some of the best players in this league aren't going to be playing this winter. And we just don't know who those guys are yet.
Brings up an interesting point of just movement happening in high school sports more and more. Like, it used to be, we would look at these rosters from the last season and know exactly who's going to be back.
And people
because
want to
these are high school
specialize in
kids.
sports, wanting to, and there's a balance to that, right? You see it and you go, man, you want guys to specialize and do what they need to do to be great in a sport. There's also that side where you're like, man, high school, you can ask the 4 of us, on this podcast, we probably would all say, play every sport you have the opportunity to play, have the experience in high school where you can just be a kid for a while. But some of these guys are high level athletes that are, specializing in different things and got to focus on that. So it is just a different age a little bit that way.
Yeah, was never a good enough athlete to even consider, like, oh man, should probably focus on this for my future.
Bring him back, man. He's got eligibility. Let's get Rathbone back out there. Come on, use that eligibility.
Scots could use him over at DD.
Not in basketball. Not in basketball, I'll tell you that much. All right, do we make it all through? Is it time to go to let's start. Last episode we did conference champs to dark horse, long shot, favorite. Let's roll through it. I think we've kind of discussed that already, so we can kind of roll through these a little quicker this time around. But it sounds like it's North Eugene's time. That's consensus I'm getting from these mustachioed Eugene men. So I'm not going to disagree with it. I'm going to go with North Eugene as my favorite.
Yeah, listen, I got Thurston listed as mine, but Sky brought some valuable points in. I mean, if they're without some of those multi-sport guys that are, huge impact players on the basketball court, that's going to be a big loss. Same thing with Churchill. So yeah, I'm going to have to slot North Eugene into my favorite spot. I guess we'll turn Thurston into a dark horse on my notes. But yeah, I mean, hearing Sky talk about these guys, I'm even more pumped to watch the Highlanders now because I mean, I was already high on them, but if they're the league faves, let's go, man. Highlanders, Coach Gee. I'm ready to watch. I'll be there.
It is a little tough because it seems that North Eugene's really the only school that we are, I guess, most certain of what to expect and who's going to be out there playing. but I'm gonna be stubborn, and I'm gonna just stick with Thurston. They were my pick when I was putting this together. Um, I don't know. I'll just stick with Thurston. I think they probably have the best player in the league. Um, like I don't know.
Elias, I think you brought up a good point in your initial analysis too. Like seeing how they compete at the Capital City Classic will say a lot about this team. And so it's like, I think battle tested early on in the season, playing a harder schedule, that always prepares you for a league schedule. And then it's going to be those first couple matchups, as Thurston goes on the road to Crater, as North Eugene and Thurston battle it out, what happens that first round of games. It'll be really interesting. But I'm giving the roses to the team that deserves it right now, and that's North Eugene for me.
All right. Before we went through like our favorites, and this one kind of got off a little bit. So my favorite was North Eugene. I guess my challenger or my dark horse, I guess now is Thurston. I think losing a player of the year is a big deal, even though he had won it, 2 years prior. And then I think I'm going to go Ashland. I think I'm going to go with the youngsters. That's who I initially had written down, even though Sky came in with some great creator points. I'm going to stick with Ashland as my long shot. The young pups down there, the young Cubs, the young Grizzlies are going to make enough noise to be considered a long shot.
I love that pick, and I know Coach Ani is going to love that pick as well. I'm going North Eugene as my favorite. Dark horse coming for that league title, Crater. And my long shot's going to be Churchill. Lancers putting it together and putting together a season to battle for a league title.
Love it.
So
I go ahead, Jackson.
I'm striking out today. I'm sorry, guys. Usually I try to just get in there and I do get in, but today it's not working. Yeah, I said it. North Eugene, my favorite. Dark horse, Thurston. Long shot, I got to stick with Crater, even though I don't see them as much of a long shot. I think that if they're playing well, they're on the similar level of these title contending teams. And so, yeah, I really see this league title race shaping up to be pretty fun. I'm going to be super psyched to tune into those North Eugene Thurston games, North Eugene Crater, Churchill, North Eugene. I think those are going to be a lot of fun games this year. It's going to be a really fun league to watch because those teams at the top, I think, are pretty close.
For my favorite, obviously I said already was Thurston. I kind of view though like, and one of the coaches did point this out in their survey that it could go either way is the way they phrased it with between Thurston and North Eugene. So to me, it's kind of like they're 1A and 1B. So I didn't want to like put one of them as the dark horse. So I went with Churchill. I mean, I don't know. They won the most league titles since, a decade ago for a reason. Uh, if anyone's gonna figure it out if anyone's gonna figure it out and overachieve, I think it's gonna be the Lancers. And for a long shot, I went with Crater
In
just off of
agreement.
vibes.
Let's go, Elias.
Dude,
It's a good
Sky
vibe
like
pick.
scared us. Like he's scared us straight with the North Eugene. Just
This
and
guy knows
the
ball, bro.
and the Crater. I don't think any of us were just like, well, I guess Jackson was like,
I'm high
Crater's
on
gonna
Crater.
Crater's gonna be the team that's comes in. But here we are. Alrighty, let's move on to League Players of the Year. Last two have come from Thurston. Two different players. Lucas LeBounty won it last year, and Nate Stifler the year before. Lucas LeBounty is returning. Jackson, why don't you start us off? Who's your favorite dark horse, long shot? Let the people
Thank you
know.
for taking the role of director. We've needed that today. Um, LeBounty, my twin, according to Brian, the favorite. Um, I'm with Sky. He's a really, really good player. He's got all the tools on offense, a great handle, knows how to rise to the occasion, rarely makes mistakes, super even keel type of guy, never too deep into his emotions. I love his game all around. The fact that he was the player of the year last year is obviously, I guess you could say it's some positive momentum going in this year, but sometimes you see a little bit of voter fatigue that might have contributed to him winning last year, honestly. But yeah, I got to give him the edge. I think he's the most talented player in the conference. If we're talking about just, raw basketball skill, moving on to the dark horse, I got Jordan Gray. I think of him very highly as well. Great player, great facilitator, great leader. Didn't even get to see as much of him last year as I wanted to, so I'm excited to watch him in the Highlanders this year a little bit more. But yeah, I think he's a stud. He's going to be scoring a lot of points for a really, really good team, so he's going to be up there. And then my long shot, Julian Grant from Crater. Sky touched on it. Last year, he had some explosive performances. Another guy that can really score the ball. And we've touched on it throughout this episode. We're pretty high on Crater this year to be a sneaky team in this league. So I think if they are able to do so and maybe pull off an upset or two, I definitely think Julian Grant will be a name to watch as well.
I'm going to just jump in because that's exactly what I had down was, I think said a lot about Labounty already, but I don't think there's a better young man in 5A basketball. He's a great basketball player. Just fundamentally, there's so much to his game that's just really impressive. Jordan Gray is going to make it interesting if they win league. If they win league and it's just like he's handled business, that's going to be a tough 1A, 1B type of voting situation. Same with Crater, though. If Crater can make some noise, Julian Grant is going to be in the conversation. And maybe my darker horse that I'll shout back to from Churchill, Charlie Dexter, lace him up, man, because I think he could be a guy that makes a huge impact. And it's a double monster, with rebounds and points each night that could be a factor.
Mine's slightly different. I went with Jordan Gray as my favorite. I think when you win a league title, I think it just boosts your candidacy, quite a bit. And so if this type of year that we're kind of expecting North Eugene to have, I can see him, being, the main reason why and, getting those votes. I also, went with Craters. I went with Julian Grant as my dark horse. Because yeah, if Crater makes this, big jump from, being a 500 team to a, one or two, spot in the league, then he's probably gonna be a big reason why. Um, my long shot is Trey Lucas. Is Trey Lucas from Thurston, and here's my rationale behind it. It is simply because of the having multiple players of the year. I just think this guy could do what
You talking Trayson Hill?
Trayson Hill. Yes, gosh,
Yeah.
There's a football player in the area with Trey Lucas.
Yeah,
so
Trayson Hill. Yeah. Following suit, taking down the previous player of the year.
Exactly. It's just what happens at Thurston. So that's why he is my long shot. Trayson Hill, not Trayson Lucas. Trayson Hill hit the game winner against Crescent Valley at the state tournament in the consolation game. So why not?
As a freshman.
Yeah, he's a baller.
Yeah.
I'll run through mine real quick. My favorite's Lucas Labounty because I assume that Thurston's obviously going to win the league again. I looked up this kid's stats real quick. Is it possible to win consecutive league players of the year but have a worse season? Because he shot 54% from the field last year and 53 from three. That's just so impressive. I don't know how you repeat that. Averaging on 19 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 3 assists and a steal. That's I don't know. He really raised the bar for himself. That's gonna be hard to beat. But even if he doesn't, clearly he's one of the best players in the state. I think it was all state second team last year. So barring knock on wood and injury, I'm assuming he'll be just as prolific. For my dark horse, I picked Jace Litton because I feel like I just need to follow the same kind of thing I did for my champion. If my dark horse is Churchill, it's got to be a kid from Churchill as the POY.
Lace him up. Come on, Litton, lace him up. Get out there.
And my long shot, Julian Grant, because Crater was my long shot. I did see, though, just looking real quick, I think Julian had 34 against you guys last year, 6 threes.
Man, that was a crazy game. They ended up, we were ahead. I think we were up 17, and they came back, and Litton dunked on Julian Grant. A nice little poster. And we were just feeling ourselves, and slowly the Comets just came right back, and Julian Grant ended up having a huge night. They walked away with a win. We might have got the poster, but it doesn't mean much when you lose the game. So yeah, that was an impressive win.
That was a nice note, Elias, about Lucas's efficiency last year. I mean, that's part of what makes him so great is he never really forces the issue. He plays within the
Yeah.
scheme and within himself. That's going to have to be something that he continues to do this year with a lot of guys missing. It could be easy for him to try to take games over and be the guy. But he's more of a star that plays within a system. And I think that's why he's really, really fun to watch. And so he's going to need to have to find that balance this year of, being able to take games over, but also, continuing to be that efficient scorer that he is.
And I think those stats are important because Brian, you saw it firsthand with Carmichael and the way he was playing at Summit, when it's like, not only it's one thing if you're taking 80 shots a game, you're going to score the basketball but when you're super efficient with what you do, that's a real testament to how good of a basketball player you really are. I'm telling you though, the key is going to be, what do they do if the scouting report is everybody focus on LeBounty? Who are the other guys for Thurston that are going to step up and make huge plays?
Alrighty. Well, I just want to run through those three for me real quick, so I am very clear and I don't botch anyone's name. Jordan Gray is my favorite. Julian Grant is my dark horse, and my long shot is Traysom Hill of Thurston.
Beautiful.
Sorry,
Now we're in
Mr.
the
Hill.
mailbag.
Over to the mailbag. We have a couple questions. First question is your thoughts on Crater. We talked a lot about Crater. Our thoughts are very well covered in the episode. If you made it this far, you've heard all of our thoughts on Crater.
Gonna be scary.
Here's another interesting one with Sky, and very, very good that you're here, Sky, because you can probably answer this better than anyone else. With Sky Stickney gone, who is the conference's best dressed coach?
Oh, that is a great question.
Ooh.
Blaine's the only one bringing out ties. I'll tell you that. Ryan Mars usually does when we're at Eagle Point, but Blaine's bringing out blazers sometimes, getting fancy with it. I'm excited to see what Tyler Coleman does with keeping the Churchill fashion of highest priority, but I don't know.
Whoever said that in, great question.
Yeah, we will be tuned into that first Churchill game to see what our Tyler Coleman will be wearing.
Yeah.
Well,
pressure's on, Coach Coleman.
Yeah, we probably should have recorded this before, or after the first game, because if he comes out and he's just like in a polo and
want a bow tie.
Okay, there we go. If he shows up with a bow tie, way over. Like, we've definitely undersold the Churchill's prospects this season. Elias, I don't know why I kicked it over to you. Who do you think is going to be the best dressed? I just got so used to kicking questions over. Like, who do you think?
It's got to be, man, I don't know. I think it's nobody's holding the championship belt right now. It's up for grabs.
It's up for grabs. Well put. Okay. Our next question is a bit of an amendment from last episode when we were asked if 5 Intermountain Conference teams could make it to the state tournament. I heard back and they were like, no, I misspoke. I meant playoffs. So the 16-team field, which still would be a challenge, but could there be 4 Midwest League teams? Midwestern League. Gosh, I'm spelling it out because he typed out MWL and it's throwing me off. How many Midwestern League teams can make the playoffs? Is it 4? Can 4 make it?
Like, as far as they get 3 automatic, right?
3 automatic.
3 automatic, and then based on rankings. Yeah, so conceivably 4 could make it. That's where all the rankings do come into play, and making sure you're taking care of your non-conference games and keeping your ranking high enough to get in. But conceivably, yes, I think it's always safer. And the way the recent history with this league has been, it's hard to make it to playoffs, and then not a lot of movement has happened after playoffs for Midwestern League teams the last couple of years. So we'll see. I don't know, in full transparency, if they're deserving of 4 spots. But the only way to know that for a fact is for teams to back it up and prove it. But I think conceivably 4 could make it. There's a path.
Last year Crater was grabbed that fourth spot. They're one of the 2 teams, so it was them and Silverton that got the 2 at-large bids.
Which was hilarious. At our game at Ashland, last game of the season for Churchill last year, the coaching staff from Crater was in the house just hoping that we beat Ashland so that they could get that playoff spot. So there was some interesting trickery happening at the end of the year last year to get Crater in there.
Oh yeah. Well, there was oh, you know what? I think Mountain View is going to get in, and then never mind. Crater took the spot. Yeah, 4.
I have a question though. Is the NWalk the only league that gets 4 automatic? Everyone else gets 3?
The Mid-Willamette does as well.
Yeah, they get 4 as well.
Yeah, because the IMC was 6, it's now 7, the Midwestern 7, and the Mid-Willamette and NWalk are big.
I mean, I would probably if any league. I mean, I guess there's only 2 choices, right? Between the IMC and the Midwestern League. I think the Midwestern League probably has a better chance than the IMC.
Yeah, which is funny because as I'm talking, it's man, I gotta imagine one of those, and whether it's the NWalk or the IMC, you're gonna take one of those at-large bids. But last year, neither of them got at-large bids, so
that's what's interesting about rankings and preparing your team, right? There's part of it where we look at it and say, oh, playing hard teams and a great schedule, that's going to prepare you for a league and be able to win. That was certainly our philosophy. But if you take some hits along the way, we lose a close game to a Wilsonville or a Tualatin in the Capital City Classic, and it dings us down a little bit. They're going on the road in a playoff game. That's tough. So it's do you take the wins just to keep your ranking super high? Do you get battle tested to be able to compete down the road? Everyone's got different ideology on that.
Yeah, just
tough balance.
Win your league games. That's the main thing. Just win league and you'll be in a good spot. Or be really competitive in your league and be, one of the top 2, and you're usually in a good spot to host a playoff game. And then actually that was our final question. So we'll just go into our one big question for the Midwestern League. Anyone got one?
All right, I'll go. I do. I have a couple actually. My first is, do we will North Eugene and Crater take the step up that we expect them to? When you look at their rosters and who they have and what they've been able to do contextually, they should take a step up this year. They have talent. But we never know until it's actually, the proof is in the pudding. So those are 2 teams that I'm just watching closely this year and I have questions about. And then my other thing is just I've kind of come up with it throughout this episode, is just who's really going to be rostered by all these teams. Churchill and Thurston, 2 of the main ones we're looking at in terms of, having a lot of, their superb athletes missing, trying to specialize in whatever their 1A sport is. That's going to make a huge difference, obviously, because we're talking about multiple rotational pieces on both of those teams. So that's the big one for me, is who are all these teams really going to have on the roster when we get to the games in a week and a half. It's kind of crazy that we're still having that discussion at this point. And it goes to show what we were talking about kids becoming specialists and moving around and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think there's a lot of questions in this league, but the main ones are, what are we going to see from North Eugene and Crater, these teams that could, take a huge step up and maybe make the state tournament? And then who is Churchill and Thurston really going to have? Because those supporting casts with everybody around would be really, really strong and make this league really, really interesting. So I can't wait to see who's actually on those rosters.
I think I would just echo what Jackson said. Eugene guys are thinking the same way. Who's on your roster? Big question for me. And then can any of these teams make an actual run at Linfield? And I think that's where it's kind of like a prove it North Eugene, prove it Thurston. Come on, Crater, what do you got? Churchill, what do you got? Those are going to be the big question marks for me.
Go ahead, Elias.
I was going to say, unfortunately, mine's kind of on the same track as Sky's. So we all kind of have a similar answer. We're like, I can't say I was really tuned into 5A hoops when I was younger. Um, but just hearing Jackson regale us with these stories of how dominant the Midwestern League was when he was coming up and everything, I feel like robbed that I haven't experienced much of it. So yeah, I'm kind of just waiting to see, like, are any of these teams, I mean, I don't want to discredit them. They're obviously having amazing regular seasons, but can they win when it means most? Um, I don't know. I just haven't. I feel like I'm missing out on not seeing the Midwestern League like at its peak, at its most, at its highest potential, really.
The Midwestern League is not sexy this year, right? I'm excited even to hear coming up the NWAC preview that you guys give, because that's where a lot of the hype and talk, and even from last preview of the IMC, with new teams and like, oh, how many of these teams can compete? The Midwestern League doesn't have the shine that the rest do right now. And so it's like, come on, Midwestern League, somebody prove us wrong that you can actually compete at a state level.
Well, I think that's just a perfect segue into my question. And has the main event cursed the Midwestern League? So in the main event,
Wow.
I think we just need to change main event to Jackson Noggle. Has Jackson Noggle cursed the Midwestern League? I think that was the first season, man. He cursed us.
Well, here
There's
we go. Let me drop some numbers. In the main event era, which is now 3 full years, no more than one team from the Midwestern has gone to the state tournament. None of them have advanced past the quarterfinals, and they have a 3-6 record in the state tournament. One of those years was at Gill Coliseum. In the 3 years prior, one of the years was canceled, due to COVID. But the 3 years prior, they went 4 teams in the state tournament. The year before, they went 3 teams in the state tournament, and the year before that, 4 teams in the state tournament, had teams playing for titles in the semifinals and whatnot. So,
Ryan, I think you need to move to the Valley, man. I think that's the answer. It's time for you to join us in the clouds and rain and maybe see if that's the difference maker.
I don't know, man. I grew up in the Valley. I don't know if I can go back. The sun's great. It really
That's interesting, though. You bring up an interesting point. I might be a curse over here. I don't know, because I definitely have always talked highly of the Midwestern. They got the potential. This is the year. You know what? This is the year. Come on, Crater. Come on, come on. It's time. Low conference pride now. You guys just heard the numbers. We used to be a powerhouse down here in Eugene and southwards.
and Southern Oregon. Well, we promised we were going to try to go quicker this episode after a hour and 45-minute episode of our previous episode. We did not do that, but we're going to end it here. He's Jackson Noggle. He's Elias Esquivel. I'm Brian Rathbone. Sky Stickney. Thank you so much for joining the Main Event Oregon's 5A basketball podcast.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.